Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ohio State Call-In Show. I'm your co-host Ryan Sano.
I'm Garrison Gaddy.
Well, Garrison, a little bit has happened since we last talked. I'll go ahead and drop the link here in the chat as well, so you guys can join us if you'd like. Take your comments, calls, anything like that. This is your guys' show, so we'd love to hear from you. But since our last show,
Mhm.
we've had we've had a couple hires. So I know we put out a video yesterday about them, but for those who may not have seen it, Ohio State has a new offensive coordinator and a new offensive line coach. The offensive line coach is more quote unquote new because he wasn't previously with the program, and that's Tyler Bowen. He comes in from Virginia Tech. He was previously their offensive coordinator, tight ends coach as well. He's well traveled. This will actually be his 16th year of coaching, and he will now be leading the men up front. So, why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts on the Bowen hiring, Garrison?
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. The only worry is that he hasn't coached the offensive line since 2017. So it's a while back now at Maryland. But I do believe that he is someone that I think they made the hire because as an offensive mind, he can handle mostly, if not anything. Like if they need him to coach the quarterbacks, he can do it as he has done before, and the tight ends. If he needs to go coach the running backs, I believe he can go do that. If you need to go coach the wide receivers, I believe he could go do that. I think he's one of those guys that probably is a savant of some sorts when it comes to the offense. I kind of believe Ryan Day to be the same thing. If you need to coach a position on offense, he could do it without a question. So no, I like the hire. I think it's going to bode well for us this upcoming season, especially with the offensive line that we have coming this year. I'm very excited for that. For those guys, I think this is the right hire.
Yeah. We expressed our thoughts yesterday, and since it came down, I've had a little bit more time to think about, a little bit more time to dig into his background, and what one thing that stuck with me was that someone within Virginia Tech said that he thought Bowen was the smartest football guy in the building, and that says a lot. So that definitely gives me some positivity. As far as his hire concerned, it does bother me that he hasn't exclusively coached the offensive line for so long. As you mentioned, and quite frankly, he's bounced around a lot. I mean, he's been to a lot of different spots. Um, he's only 35 years old, and this is already his 16th year in coaching, so he's been doing it for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's done everything from being a GA to working with the offensive line to being the OC. So it's he's doing quite a lot. So he seems to have the respect of the guys that he was previously working with. Um, and this is a hire Day wanted to make. So I like you mentioned, he's got some experience doing a lot of things, which I think can benefit. Being the guy who's coaching the big guys up front. But that obviously wasn't the only hire that we had yesterday. The big one is the promotion of Brian Hartline to offensive coordinator. And he'd already had the co-OC title, so I mean, he was technically offensive coordinator last year as well, but now he will be actually calling the plays. And it's quite a bit different when you have that play calling sheet in front of you. So, what do you think of their decision to promote internally for this position?
I'm happy about it. I think next season is the time to do it. I don't think the schedule's not too grueling. Once outside of 2.5 games.
The first one's pretty grueling.
Yeah, so I don't think Hartline is gonna be calling plays in that game. I think he will be giving input, but I don't believe. I would be very upset if Ryan Day gave him the play calling sheet that game. If that was week 6, I'd be okay with it. But I believe Ryan Day needs to call that game. I don't think that's not the one you throw him to the wolves. Don't throw him to the wolves. I wouldn't be so happy about it.
I'm going to disagree with you on that, just because we've seen Ryan Day and we know how he can get. Like once he starts on something, like he doesn't want to give it up. Like it took him 6 years to give up play calling duties as a head coach. Like he didn't want to do it. He just hasn't wanted to do it. So if you give him, if you give him the authority to do it for one game, that's not going to just be one game. It might turn up to be the whole damn season. And then at that point, you got a pissed off Heartline who thought he was going to be able to call plays and when he took the promotion. So I think you got to give it to him. You kind of have to sink or swim there.
If in the first week against Texas the play calling looks like dog shit, are you going to be upset then?
I mean, if they lose, yes, I'll always be upset.
No, I mean, you can win. The play calling still look terrible.
Sure. Look, for me, now that Ohio State's won a national championship and they are the current national champions, I have a lot more grace given with this team, specifically with next year. I mean, they lost a ton of guys. Do I still expect them to win a lot of games? Yes. But I also understand that a promotion like this kind of needed to happen at some point. And I think, like you mentioned, this is the time to do it. So if the play calling is a little bit rough early on, so be it. He'll learn from his mistakes. And I expect it to be better as time goes along. But I think this is the time to do it. And I do expect the play calling to be a little bit rough against Texas, specifically in the first half. After that scripted drive, because once that scripted drive is gone, that's when we're really going to find out what Heartline's made of.
Well, let's play this ad real quick, and then we'll get to the callers.
Ohio State, Michigan, the greatest rivalry in sports deserves the greatest debate in sports. Monday, February 17th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the main channel. It's the Ohio State, Michigan All Everything Debate with me, taking your calls all night if it takes all night. I'm pulling no punches, so beware. Bring your best intel. It's the Ohio State, Michigan All Everything Debate. It will be epic. February 17th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Be there.
I'm actually looking forward to that. Just some of the comments. But can't blame a guy for leaving the ACC to the Big Ten. Oh, I agree with that. The money's probably better.
It's not just the money, but it's also the fact that the ACC seems to be a forgotten. I mean, not a forgotten conference, but they're clearly a lesser between the SEC and the Big Ten. I mean, when you leave an undefeated Florida State out, I mean, yeah, that's what happens, and then they just re-upped with ESPN, to keep going through 2036. So they're kind of screwed as far as the TV revenue goes. So
I think the fall of the ACC was when they allows the Big East teams to come in there. I thought that was the downturn for them.
I think that's part of it. I mean, conference realignment in general, they were too late to the game.
See, and then Cole, good evening, man. Philip, good to see you in here as always.
Indeed.
Yeah, let's bring in Burks here.
Okay.
Yo, what's up, Garrison? And I think you are Ryan, is it?
That's correct.
What's up? Hey, I just want to say congrats on your guys' natty. I don't know if I know Garrison a lot because of Maze Madman. I just want to say I predicted the game wrong, Garrison, with Notre Dame and Ohio State. I never try to do bias ever in a prediction. But, I don't know. I just felt like Notre Dame could have won that game, but they would have played like that Michigan D. But no, I was wrong, right? And, I predicted, to tell you the truth, it's funny because I predicted that Ohio State was going to beat Michigan all 4 of those years as a Michigan State.
So did I, Burke. So did I.
And literally, I am wrong for all 4 of those years. Can you believe it, man? Like,
wait, Burke, are you serious?
I'm serious. I'm dead ass. I try to do no bias when I make predictions. Like, and if any Michigan fan were to hear this, they would kill me right now.
Oh, don't worry. I'll clip it up for you.
Well, look, I'll say this about those games. I mean, for most of the time, this just shows you the power of a rivalry because Ohio State was the most talented team at least 3 of those 4 years, and they lost all 4 of them. So that shows you what a rivalry game does, even when one team is supposed to be the superior team.
Yeah. So listen, I'm just calling in because I want to know your prediction of what you guys think the scandal is going to be. Like,
Hey Burks, I do want to tell you this real quick, so you
Yeah.
don't feel too bad, buddy. The last 4 years, now I didn't pick the money line, but I picked you guys to cover every single time, so I've made money every single game.
That's nice.
You got to be kidding me.
If I'm going to lose, I'm going to get something out of it.
True.
Hey,
So yeah, you want to know what we think about, what the scandal, what the results of that is going to come down to.
yeah. What's your prediction, man?
Yeah. So personally, I think that if the NCAA wasn't so feckless and so bad at what they do, and they have been bad at enforcing the rules, I mean, really for the last 20, 25 years, then it would be a lot harsher. And when I say harsher, I mean there's a chance that the title gets stripped. I do not think that is going to happen. I'm not even entirely sure if they're going to vacate a ton of wins. I could see them vacating some wins. I could see them vacating like the 2022 season. I don't see them doing anything with the 2023 season, or at least the last, 6 games or so once they got caught. I don't think anything's going to happen there. I do think Sharon is in jeopardy of getting fired because of that, because he might get hit with a show cause for deleting the text messages and everything like that. They're going to hand down some sort of recruiting sanction, some sort of scholarship limit. But I mean, I think that's probably the extent of it. I don't think there's going to be. I do not think there's going to be a bowl ban, even though there probably should be. I just don't think the NCAA. Like I said, they're really bad at what they do. They're quite frankly afraid to administer punishments the way that they should. And the ones that they do administer, they're usually always wrong. So, what do you think, Harrison?
So I've been saying this for about over a year now. I don't believe it's a proverbial hammer. I don't think there's a chance that they're going to vacate any games. I don't think there's a chance that they're going to strip away their title. I don't think there's a chance that they would be left out of get a bowl ban or a because the college football playoff committee controls that now. And I don't think the CFP committee cares enough to do that. Now, do I think they're going to get? I think they're going to get a hefty fine.
I think if the NCAA were to initiate some sort of bowl ban, I think the CFP would respect their
maybe so. Okay,
that decision. So,
okay,
but you're right; they are separate entities. You're right.
No, but no, I didn't think about it that way. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But I think there's going to be a hefty fine. I think that they're going to lose some scholarships. What else? Sharon Moore. I think Sharon Moore at the least he's going to get suspended for a few games. I think
there at least will be a suspension. Yes.
Yeah, I think we're and Burks. Let me know how you feel about this. I feel like there's a lot of Michigan fans who are they don't understand the simplicity of the actions of their program and their coaches. Like when something like the whole cheeseburger thing, right? Yeah, cheeseburger. That's fine. But what cheeseburger technically equals, or what it really means, is you saw a kid during the time you weren't supposed to be doing any recruiting like that. You saw him during the COVID period, which they had put in place, and you still chose to do that. Like it's not like it's a big deal. Like I'm not sitting here saying like what you guys did, like somebody has a big deal. Dude, we're Buckeye fans. Like going through shit like that is part of the course. Like I'm waiting for Ryan Day to have to do something. I'm waiting, but
let's hope not.
Oh, yeah, let's hope not. I mean, something small is okay.
Yeah,
little cheeseburger here or there, But and then also, I think that if Sharon were to get fired, it's because, dude, you're gonna get that show cause because you are what do you call a blank offended?
Repeat offender.
Repeat offender. Thank you. Repeat offender. You did it back to back. You did it back to back. That's the problem. And then the situation comes where it's not about what's in the text messages. It's the fact that you deleted them. And another simple fact that I feel like some Michigan fans don't understand. You can't do that. And then they say, well, he gave the text away, and then they needed it to go scan it back. No. He turned in the phone, and that's how they were able to retrieve them. Like it's things like that. I feel like certain things that a lot of Michigan fans are missing. Berg, I'm not sure if you saw the video, but if you have time, go watch Darren Talks Ball. And of course, you know Darren, he's a Michigan fan. He talks about it, and he's dead honest about it, dude. It's not. I think that a lot of Ohio State fans and people around think you guys are just being a little dishonest about what's going on.
Garrison, I actually am. Me and Darren Talks Ball is in the same boat, dude. So I know. Listen, I respect Darren Talks Ball so much. He's been getting hell. I'm just gonna say this, man. Michigan fans do not understand that, like, this Connor Stalions guy. Why are they praising him? Why do they not taking it seriously, man? What the hell is going on? This guy's a damn criminal. This guy should. If I was the Michigan president, dude, I would write a restraining order. And if he steps on campus, he goes to jail. All right, I am so pissed off of this whole cheating stuff, bro. Like, can I tell you something, you two? I'm just gonna tell you guys. You can tell my guy Maze Madman or Maniac. I don't care at this. They're my guys, Garrison. But I'm just gonna say this, man. Michigan, I respect Ohio State football program more. Can I tell you why I respect them more? Because they actually won a natty with no controversy, no scandals, none of this stuff. We won a natty. It had to have controversy or scandal and stuff. Can you believe it? And I talked to Ohio State podcasts. I talked to, the OHL podcast, Buckeye Boys. They're all chill with me because I'm honest. I talked to a Notre Dame channel called Always Irish. They just don't understand why Michigan had to do this when they had the talent to win.
You would have won the national championship without Connor Stalions. I do fully believe that.
Yes, that's the thing is I don't think they had to do it. They had a lot of talent on the team, and the fact that this has happened and now, I mean, even if there is no legitimacy to like saying that there's a cloud around like the natty, now we have the ammo to do it. So that's the sad thing.
It's just so sad, man. Like, and that's the thing. Unfortunately, I actually Michigan fans are like, oh, Ohio State won a Mickey Mouse natty. Okay, what's a Mickey Mouse? They won a national championship. Sure, they didn't win a conference championship. Okay, they didn't win the Big Ten title, but at least they won a natty with no damn cheating scandal, and they won't be called. Like, see, our reputation is now going to be called. We're going to be called cheaters for the rest of our life. Till I'm 100 years old, fan base is just going to call it cheaters because of this scandal. They don't understand that our reputation is destroyed because of that clown named Connor Stalions.
No, and you know what's funny? I'm happy you said that, man, Bergs. I didn't know that was your take on it, Bergs. And then I think about it this way. If Ohio State had a guy like Connor Stalions doing some crap like this, wrote some long manifesto, dude, we would get rid of him so fast.
Because nowhere near to the program.
Yeah, if we found out that was happening, we wouldn't let him do that. And it's surprising to me that you have Mike Hart, who gets a call from someone from Rutgers and lets them know, like, hey, this might be going on. He brings it to a mentor, nothing happens. And then you have another staffer that brings it to you, and he says, hey, it's kind of iffy. Like, what do you think? They don't do anything about it. Man, there were a lot of ways I think Michigan could have handled this to where this wouldn't have been a situation to where you wouldn't, because let's say you guys come out of this not scot clean, but you get a slap on the wrist. And I think even though we all agree that you guys didn't have to do it, it's kind of like the Patriots, where that stigma is going to stick to you when it's not going anywhere. It's going anywhere.
Yep.
And it's for. This is what I was saying. Like, I may not like you guys as a program, but I have a lot of respect for you guys. I'm confused for a lot of, just like you, Bruce, for a lot of Michigan fans when it comes to Connor Stalions, where the type of pride the University of Michigan upholds itself to, and it's like, as Bruce, you may not know, but I'm from the state of Michigan, born and raised.
Grand Rapids.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm confused. Michigan men and all that stuff. Like just how like what Darren said. This guy is the antithesis of a Michigan man. He's not even close to being that, and that's why it's so confusing to me, man. Like I don't know why he's held up like this. It's so weird.
I think it's because there was a large gap between because there was large gaps between when they actually had a real shot to win a national championship. I think that's part of the reason why. I won't say national relevance because they were really good. In the early in the Jim Harbaugh. I mean, 2016 Michigan had a really good team. At 2018 they were really good. I mean, had they beaten Ohio State in those years, they would have made the playoffs as well. But the fact that he's so revered because he was the one that was able to, quote unquote, crack the code against Ohio State and help them get to that final goal. Because in a lot of Michigan's fans' minds, it's probably true. The only thing between them and a national championship in a lot of those years was Ohio State. They had talented teams, and they, a lot of people think if they'd been able to beat the Buckeyes, they might have competed in one or two of these national championship games, and then they finally did. And they want to give that guy some credit for, giving them any sort of edge. Now, obviously, the three of us don't think that's what should be happening, but that's just what it is. But I know we talked about what we think, what kind of penalties might be levied. I don't see. I'm not shocked it's taken them this long to get something down. My guess is something wouldn't be levied until after maybe even next season. I don't think this season. I don't think anything's going to happen in 2025. I wouldn't be surprised if they came down with the punishments midway through 2025 that would be enacted in 2026.
Yeah, no, and not only that, too, you guys are I tell you the truth, you guys are a more respected program. I honestly respect Ohio State as a football. I'm not going to say as a fan base, because what you guys did with Ryan Day, some of your fans, the family, after they lost, I don't like what you guys did. I'm not saying all of these Ohio State fans are bad. It's a group of them.
Correct.
But I'll say this, man. Michigan has gotten so many people don't understand. We just got a scandal before with the doctor and the $490 million lawsuit with Bo Schembechler. Then our retail store, Emden, right? This was like my favorite Michigan store. That got bankrupt because there was a white collar. The owner did not pay his suppliers. Like, I truly feel Ann Arbor is literally run by criminals. Like, I'm starting to feel like that. No, I'm not even joking with you, dude. They are actually run by bloody criminals.
Wasn't there a guy on their staff too who got fired for doing something on the computer he wasn't supposed to be doing?
Yeah, doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing.
Let's just put it that way. Yeah,
it's just so frustrating, man. Like, you're a Wolverine. Wolverines are tough, strong animals. We are not damn raccoons, man. Come on.
Yeah,
Brooks, I have a question for you, actually. From a Wolverine's perspective, right? Now, I'm going to assume, and I would be very disappointed if you thought different. You didn't want us to win the national championship, correct?
Well, no, obviously not.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. So after you guys beat us, and then you saw what we did in the playoffs, what was going through your mind?
I actually thought you guys would have won the Natty because, and that's the thing. I actually personally, I would rather have you guys beat us than us winning the Natty. I think Natty is more important and makes their resume better as an all-time great program. Listen, I'm sick of this, like, people actually thinking the rivalry is better than the Natty. Bro, the Natty, you can actually, it makes your program historic. It makes your program one of the best. And listen, when you guys beat Michigan, man, I'm like, oh shit, man, I think you guys will actually win a Natty. And guess what? I actually predicted Notre Dame to actually beat you guys because I thought you guys were gonna be arrogant. That was a bad prediction of mine, so my bad. But I was right about the championship. They made a championship. I knew they were gonna beat Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas, right? And yeah, so I honestly personally wish we lost the Natty because I felt then you guys would be arrogant or not Natty. I wish you guys we lost the game. Because then I felt like you guys would be just arrogant and then you guys wouldn't play hard and, like something like that. You guys maybe lose to Oregon. But no, yeah, that's what it is.
I can respect it.
Yep, I respect that too. Well, Burks, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. And Yeah,
Definitely.
we'll go ahead and take some other calls here. Appreciate it,
Take
Bert.
care, man.
I'll
Take
see
care.
you soon, man. I'll
You
see you
too.
soon.
See ya, Garrison.
Well, that was kind of refreshing to hear
Yeah,
a rational Michigan fan.
on them criminals is hilarious.
That is funny. There was one other piece of news that actually happened today that we haven't talked about, and that is Ryan Day getting an extension to stay with the Buckeyes. He got a 7-year extension, and he is now paid $12.5 million per year, which means only Kirby Smart is the coach that gets paid more than him in college football. Kirby makes just over $13 million, so Ryan Day is now the second highest paid coach in college football, and he will be around at least until 2031 if he so chooses. So, what do you think of the extension? What do you think of the number that they gave him? Just your overall thoughts.
I'm happy. I believe it's well deserved. For some odd reason, I'm surprised we hadn't talked about that because we probably should have saw it coming down the pipeline.
I think I mentioned it after the Monday after they had the celebration at the shoe, because Russ Bjork, he all but said during that, he's like, yeah, he basically told the stadium that he was going to give him an extension. We just didn't know when yet.
Yeah.
So
okay, you're right. You are right. You did say that, and so it's well deserved. I think that it says a lot about Ryan Day to where, like, I know I posted that. I showed you that tweet yesterday on Monday. Just it was out of jest, of course, but you think about what Ryan Day has said about getting that second title, right? And then you get this extension. It looks like he's trying to be here for the long haul, and it's really rare that you see that in today's college football. Usually, coaches are trying to, they stay there for maybe, let's say, between 5-10 years, and they probably move on to the NFL or wherever may have you. And maybe there's only a couple programs out there. There is only a couple programs out there, a few of them, to where you can probably have a legacy like this. And I think even for like Jim Tressel, he probably would have been one of them. Urban Meyer, I didn't think was going to be one of them, and I didn't think Ryan Day was going to be when he first got to Ohio State, or when he became the head coach.
Yeah, sure.
It looks like he's going to now, and I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, what this extension signals to me is Day does not want to take another college job. If he is going to stay at Ohio State as long as he's coaching college football. Now, I do think he might have some iterations of wanting to run an NFL team someday. I could see him taking an NFL head coaching job if he continues to do good things at Ohio State. I don't see that happening anytime soon, at least while his kids are still, in school here. So what that national title gave was and rightfully so, the option for him to choose how long he wants to stay in Columbus.
Right.
As long as he can, string a couple games, a couple victories against Michigan in the next couple of years. If he beats Michigan the next couple of years, then yeah, he can stay here as long as he wants and build the program for as long as he desires. So I think it's a good number. I think it's a fair number. He definitely should not get paid more than Kirby. I mean, Kirby won back-to-back titles. He deserves that. And there's only 3 active national championship winning head coaches right now in college football. It's Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, and Dabo Swinney. So he deserves to be paid like those guys. And it's going to be interesting to see now that Ohio State has – I think this extension kind of played into what they did with the hires as far as the offensive line and offensive coordinator go. They didn't make outside hires because they didn't want to pay a whole lot of money for an assistant head coach, knowing that this was coming down the pipeline. So, and you know what? I think that might be okay. And we'll see what happens here with the defensive coordinator hire. That still hasn't happened yet. I want to get your thoughts on that here in a little bit. But I think this is a fair contract. I think it's well-deserved. And that's just one less thing for the program to worry about moving forward.
Most definitely. And I want to ask you this: Do you think this contract and winning the national championship makes him a little kind of unwinds him a little bit for that Michigan game? Doesn't make him as tight, knowing that.
I think so. And actually, I've noticed a complete change in his demeanor just on the recruiting trail. Just looking at some of the pictures actually that I've seen, he looks more confident. He looks more joyful, almost like this national championship, it released a huge burden off his shoulders because of all the heat he was taking from the consecutive Michigan losses, not being able to break through in the college football playoff. And he could feel the pressure. Make no bones about it. He could feel the pressure, and allowing that pressure now to be melted away because he's got that title, I think that will help him in the future with the Michigan games. And we talked about this at length. The only reason why they lost that game this year is because of the tightness of the team. They fed off the aura of their head coach. The play calling suffered because of that, because I'm sure they gave Chip Kelly an edict where there was, we have to win the rushing battle in order to win this game. That's how this game is won, when that clearly did not need to be the case. I think the players told him that after in the locker room, and that's why they went on that great 4-game run. I don't think he's going to make the same mistakes again. I think if he goes down, I think in any game moving forward, I think it's going to be because he was too aggressive. And after seeing what could happen when he's too conservative, I'm perfectly fine with that.
All right. I'm right where you are. He's been a tight guy, and just like you said, like him going on the recruiting trail, dude, where hasn't he been on the national media right now? That guy's on a trail right now, bringing the trophy wherever he is. This is a Ryan Day I've never seen. He's loose.
No one has. Yeah.
I didn't know he had it in him. I like this guy. He's fun.
When he's been able to relax and show a little bit more of his personality, for sure. Now that he's got the national title, he's able to do that, and that's great. So, you guys, if you guys have comments, put them in there. Would love to talk about it, have you guys call in as well. But I want to take your attention over to the defensive coordinator position, because there still hasn't been a hire yet, despite it being the the vacant position that came out first. It was the first vacant position. So, there's been some rumors. There's still the Randy Bates rumors. There's still rumors that Gary Airy could take over. But, this comment here from Steve that he prefers an established DC as opposed to someone who doesn't have as much experience. Where do you fall on that spectrum? Would you prefer someone who's done it before at a high level, or are you okay with someone who could be like a Gary Airy, who has been in DC before, but he's still relatively young and doesn't have the quote-unquote establishment as far as the name goes?
Are we getting Nick Saban?
No. No.
No. Oh, man. I would prefer someone that is established, someone that can come in, I just changed my mind mid-sentence. No, I want someone within this. I want Matt Guzzieri. That's what I want.
I was going to say, so that if it sounded like if you wanted the established guy, then you'd be okay with Bates coming in.
No, I'll be okay with it, but that's so crazy. I just changed my mind mid-sentence. So Steve, this is where I want Matt Guzzieri, right? So he's established within the program. He knows the players. They know him. They have high respect for him. Ryan Day already speaks highly of him, and everyone else does. They think he's very smart. And if you think he's very smart, that means you would think he can be the DC. I'm not sure. I would assume that he would run what Jim Knowles ran, or at least a variation of that. So you keep the same system. And again, you had that familiarity. And I'll tell you what, this is just a thought I have. Alongside with what we talked about with Ryan Day trying to go for the long haul at Ohio State, I think Ryan Day is trying to be not everyone, don't take what I'm saying out of context. I think he's trying to be like the next Nick Saban and just have a litany of guys out of his system.
So you're saying, so basically you're saying your hope, at least the hope is that Day has this sustained run of success that other programs just keep poaching as coordinators.
Yeah. I think he wants to be the coach who's there. He's at Ohio State for a very long time. Notice like his offensive coordinating staff is very young. Now the defensive side is not as young. You still got some
the
older
whole staff, honestly, is pretty young if you think about it. I mean, their oldest guy is Larry Johnson, and we both want him to be shown the door.
Yeah. I mean, outside of Larry, is anyone over 45 really? Like,
I don't think so. I think Walton, might be the next oldest guy on the defensive side.
Yeah, man. I think Ryan Day, and this is just me talking to be talking. I think Ryan Day is trying to be like the next Nick Saban, where he has a bunch of guys that come out of his system who are in what do they call it, a coaching tree, and then when he's the next guy they talk about, the Ryan Day coaching tree. Because here's the truth of the matter: when BH gets out of here, Brian Hartline, they're gonna talk about him coming from the Ryan Day coaching tree. They're going.
Let's hope he doesn't get out of here. I'd like to keep a hold of him. Let's not wish him out the door already, Garrison.
I'm sorry. You're right.
I understand what you're saying. But to this point, another internal hire. I kind of agree, just with the fact that it would be if you have Guerrieri and possibly Tim Walton as a co-DC. Mm-hmm. I understand Guerrieri's like been a co-DC before, but he wasn't running the show. This would be the first time that he would really be running the show. And to have that on both sides of the ball does give me some pause, especially with all of the talent that has gone from this year's team on defense. I mean, they lose their entire starting defensive line. Mm-hmm. They're losing Denzel Burke. They're losing Lathan Ransom. Jordan Hancock's gone too. So there's going to be a lot of guys that have to step up. And it's a lot of change to happen in one offseason. And honestly, it's a lot of newness for a brand new guy to have to deal with and kind of learn on the job. So that would make me a little uneasy. Yeah. But if they truly believe that Guerrieri is one of those up-and-coming dudes, then I guess you kind of roll with it. And again, you're just coming off a national championship. This is the season where Day can roll the dice because he's got all this goodwill built up. So he can kind of experiment and do what he wants. So if that's what he wants to roll with, he can do that.
And truth be told, the national championship is always going to be the goal every single year.
Of course.
But there's also, but those say if Matt was hired, right, as a new DC. That gives them that's 12 weeks. You got 11 weeks those guys have to prep for the biggest game of the year to that point. So, I mean, and I do agree with you. Two new guys calling plays on both sides of the ball with a fresh team. Yes, it is worrisome. But that's why I also bring up, I don't say but, at the same time, that's why I also bring up the familiarity with the guys on the team.
Sure.
How much that helps, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, Guerrieri, like, it's not like he's been in the program for 6 years like Hartline. Guerrieri was brought in last year. Like, he was just hired. So he doesn't have that much familiarity with the guys. He was there for this one season for the title run. And sure, he did a good job. But it makes me nervous. I'm not saying it might not be the right hire, but it makes me nervous when we're talking about two guys who have never done it before, and they're doing it at Ohio State. Normally Ohio State's a program where you get guys who have done it at, Penn State, Virginia Tech, Pitt, name your school. They've done it there first. So Ohio State's not typically your proving ground. But that trend, that trend was bucked when they hired Ryan Day, as a first-time head coach. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's just kind of extending, paying it forward on that front. He's a first-time hire, so he's giving other first-time hires a chance as well. I don't know.
He's a nice guy.
Sure, he's a nice guy, but
It's not my favorite attribute about him.
Correct. Like I would like to win games. That's my ultimate goal here. But yeah, and we'll see who the DC. I'm honestly a little bit surprised they haven't made an announcement yet. I know Day said he was going to take his time with the hires, and then 2 days after that, they proceeded to decide on Brian Hartline and Bowen as the offensive line coach. So maybe there's a holdup with trying to get Bates to agree to something, and Guerrieri's kind of on the back burner, and he's kind of the backup. But I would be surprised if this dragged out too much longer. Like, honestly, I'd be surprised if we were back here on Monday talking and there was not a hire at that point.
Do you think there's a chance they make Guerrieri defensive coordinator?
Yes. I mean, they would make him with Tim Walton. I don't think there's a chance they bring in an outside guy and make Guerrieri a co-DC. I think if it's Bates that comes in, he's the guy. He's running the show. I don't think they tag him with a co-title at all. Hartline was like the smallest of co-offensive coordinators as you could possibly be with Chip here last year. I mean, everyone knew where the offensive buck stopped. So I don't think they're going to do that with a DC hire.
When Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, and then him.
Yeah. So, like I said, the hire should be done soon. But, I want to talk a little bit about what you expect from this team as far as the spring goes, specifically with who you are kind of keeping your eye on in the spring. As like, who do you think is going to break out? What position battles are you specifically looking at? Those are the two things I want to, hear you talk about. So as far as breakout guys, give those to me right now.
I just got really giddy because I'm about to say this guy's name, Luke Montgomery. I think he's it.
Right now, him and Kean Holtz are at the Ohio State basketball game, which they're unfortunately down 6 right now, which it did look good in the first half, so they're at least keeping it close.
Come on, I'm a Spartan. But
I know, but okay. A lot of people watching this show aren't. So
one of these days, I'm gonna get killed for that on this. But Luke Montgomery, ever since he came out of high school, I thought he was gonna be really good. And part of it was just kind of instinct. We talked about before. I believe Ohio State should be going after whatever top offensive lineman we have in the state, and they should. And I think they should all be coming here. Luke Montgomery was a top 10 guy coming out, and I remember last year. I posed this question on Scarlet and Blue Show. I said, "Well, if the guard situation is that bad, then what's the problem? Just seeing what it looks like out of Luke Montgomery. Let's just see what it looks like." And of course, that's a year prior to this season, but man, he came into that playoff game, that first game, and he was still coming in and out with Ceraville. But I thought it was very clear in that Tennessee game. I thought, behind Donovan Jackson, that was the second best guard on our team. He's better than Tegra. Better than Hinsman at guard.
I don't think he's better than Hinsman at guard. I don't think that.
I was like, okay, I just tell myself.
I'll say this. I mean, being the best of those three is not a high bar to clear. I don't think Ceraville and Chabot are that great. But I do agree with you overall with Montgomery. He's good. The fact that Hinsman wasn't playing up until like midway through the season, I think is malpractice. He should have been one of the guards to begin with. I thought that was insane. I mean, he's a natural guard, but we can talk about that some other time. But Montgomery is a stud. I agree with you. My uncle actually, he's from the Findlay area. He used to be a college coach, coached Washington, a few different places. And, he heard them, the guys talking at Findlay about Montgomery. He told me last year, he's like, look, he's not going to play this year because they wanted to bulk up a little bit. Like, he's not strong enough yet. But next year, you'll see. And we saw. And even though I thought he got pushed around a couple of times, he's going to be a starter next year, in my opinion. I think he's going to be really good. So I'm with you there.
And then on the other side, I'll give you one more offensive name, Mylan Graham. I think Mylan Graham is.
I do like me some Mylan Graham.
I believe Mylan Graham. I'll give you my hot take. He's the second best receiver on the football team.
That's a hot take.
I believe it. I think he's the second best receiver on the football team.
You haven't even really seen him play.
Nope.
He didn't play.
Hey, I'm going. I told you about my guy Lawson. He studied the wide receiver position. I'm gonna go off that, and then just pure instinct. I'm gonna take him. I think the kid's gonna be a star. So that's just a hot take. We'll revisit this. We will revisit this.
Look, I loved him coming out of high school because he's a 5-star kid out of the state of Indiana, and he only made 5-star wide receivers out of the state of Indiana. And, that's where I'm from. Saw him play. He's really good. But to say he's going to be the second best wide receiver, I think that's disrespectful to Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate is really good.
It's not disrespect.
Look, I think Graham's probably
Carnell doesn't run routes like him. I'm telling you what my eyes see. He doesn't run.
Graham's probably going to be the fourth receiver on the depth chart. He'll be behind Innis as well.
Yeah. Oh, he'll be the fourth guy, but he'll be the second best. I truly believe that. I truly believe that.
I'll say this. I'm with you as far as I am excited to watch him in the spring. The spring game, right? Because he did not enroll until the summer, so we did not see him last spring game. So I'm excited to see him out there.
Black stripe faster than anyone else in college.
I mean, he lost it pretty quickly. Sure. Look, I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but to call him the second best wide receiver already is crazy.
No, I say he's going to be. By end of the year, I believe. Like I'll put it this way: Carnell Tate's going to be second on the team in wide receiver stats. That we all know that. I think though it will be clear that Carnell is better than him. Not Carnell. That Milan is better. I'm telling you, there's things. I'm looking at his hips. I'm looking at his feet, and I'm looking at his routes. Carnell is not running routes like that coming out of high school, and I don't think Carnell runs routes like that right now. That's just me. That's just me. And then defensively,
yeah, go ahead.
Edric Houston.
Okay.
Yeah. So how about you?
Yeah. So offensively, I too am excited to see Mylan Graham. But as far as like breakout guys, I actually think Innis could have a breakout year this year. I'm going to switch wide receivers on you. I think he's criminally underrated as a receiver. When he was out there during the CFB, he had some really solid blocks down the field. And we know Ohio State wide receivers block. That's what they do. And he kind of earned his stripes with that. So I think, he's going to get a lot more opportunities this season. I think it's going to be apparent just how talented he is. And I think he's another guy that if he didn't play at Ohio State, he could be a lot of other programs' number one. So I'm definitely excited to see him out there with more opportunities now that Mecca's gone, and just to see him. His high school tape was crazy as well. I really watched his tape down in Florida a lot, and it was impressive.
Last year, didn't he? Didn't he have to go play quarterback because they had some injuries and all that? Yeah,
he's just a sick athlete. He can do it all, and I'm really excited to see him get a better opportunity this season.
Before you get to the next guy, I just want to say, when you talked about how criminally overrated he is or underrated he is, I think a lot of people forget that before Jeremiah Smith in South Florida, Brandon Innis was talked about as if he was one of the best players to come out of Southern Florida. A lot of people thought he was the best player to come out of Southern Florida, coming out of there. So, you are definitely correct on that.
Defensively, I am actually really intrigued to see how well Caden Curry does as a starter, because he's going to be a starter next year. And even as a backup, he made really big impactful plays. It wasn't just on defense either, on special teams. He had the blocked punt against Indiana. He had a few knockdown passes. He was all over the field when he needed to be. And he reminds me a little bit of Sam Hubbard and Tyquan Lewis. Those were two guys on the defensive line who they weren't super flashy. They didn't have great pass rushing moves like Chase Young or Nick Bosa, where they could get to the quarterback, immediately. But they were always around the ball. Those guys were always making plays, and they got sacks. They forced fumbles. They batted down balls. And I think Curry's the same kind of guy. He's just someone who's just around the action. That's a really good guy to have. And now that they're going to have an entirely new starting defensive line, it's going to be up to him to be one of those guys to lean on, at the defensive end spot. So I'm really interested to see how he does now that he's put more into a starting role. So those are the two guys that I'm looking for breakouts in the spring.
Mm.
So as far as guys you're most interested in watching in the spring, give me a name for both offense and defense.
I'm going to steal yours with Caden.
Okay.
For all the exact reasons you pointed out, he's someone I've been a fan of for a very long time. I'm excited to see him finding this opportunity also. There is something to be said about those guys who they're probably not the most athletic. He ain't the biggest. He has an endless motor, though. That's something that I really want to see put on display. And also because as great as the playoff run was, for 3 years and 12 games, that was something that a lot of us, or I'll speak for myself, something that I didn't see out of JTT and Jack Sawyer was an endless motor. Yep. So that's something I'm really excited to see out of him. And offensively for the spring,
You think of who your offensive playmaker
no,
is?
I got it. I'm going both. I'm going both of our offensive tackles. Whether it be Daniels or Anianwa. I think the interior of our offensive line is going to be really good. I think they're set, but how those guys blend in with them, how they gel. Also, just how for Anianwa, how are you with Julian Sand? You're the left tackle. You're going to be protecting him, so the communication is having to feel for that. But yeah, those two specifically, yeah. So the tackles.
Okay. For me, defensively, I am really interested to watch Devin Sanchez. I want to see if he's someone who can come in and start right away, or if he's going to be a guy that's going to be part of the rotation in any sort of way. Because right now, I think it's probably going to be since they lost all those guys, obviously Igbinosun is going to be one of the starting corners. Like, he's going to be the starter. Depending on what DC comes in, we'll see what kind of system they run. So they might go back to a 4-3 or 3-4, or they might stay in their current, 4-2-5 system. We'll see. Regardless, I think Aaron Scott's probably going to be one of the corners, and then I'm really interested to see.
Wait, we gotta pause. I just heard you say Igbinosun is going to be one of the starters. We both agree with that.
Yeah.
And then the next name you said was Aaron Scott?
Yeah. Who else? I mean,
the guy.
Okay, fine. Jermaine Matthews is
the guy that's better. The guy that's better than Igbinosun. That too.
Look, Matthews is going to be one of the starters as well. I was going to get to that, but what I was going to say is I'm interested to see if Scott is going to be able to keep that spot over Devin Sanchez, because Scott's been in the program, but he was hurt. He was hurt a lot last year. No, of course Matthews is one of the starters. Come on, let's not play games.
You said I had a hot take.
No, he's going to be one of the starters. But I'm interested to see if Sanchez can push Scott for that starting spot. Because he's the number one corner in this class. He's been locked in with Ohio State for a really long time. He's really excited to go out there and play. And with his size and his physicality and his ranginess, I really am intrigued to see if they'll put him on the field early on, kind of like they did with Denzel Burke. So he's a guy I'm watching on defense.
That's a good one, Ryan. That's a good one.
Yeah. Offensively, I'm going to kind of cheat here, and I'm going to say their quarterback room. Just because all three of these guys, and when I say three, I mean Sayin, Tavian St. Clair, and Lincoln Kienholz, we haven't really seen a whole lot of those guys, even in the spring games. I mean, last year, Sayin got limited reps in the spring game. Kienholz got, I mean, almost no reps also, because Will Howard and Devin Brown were getting the lion's share of the reps, and even Aaron Olin got some reps, more reps than neither one of those guys. Obviously, St. Clair is a true freshman, so I want to see how those three guys command the offense and move the ball down the field. We saw like one pass from Julian Sayin, and it wasn't great, in that Tennessee game. But I'm not, I've seen him out of practice. He's got some liveliness to the ball. I'm just interested to see once now they're comfortable, with the rest of the roster. They're there. They've been running these plays. They're actually getting real reps. I want to see how each of them responds. And that's going to tell me a lot about how successful this offense is going to be next season. So those are the guys I'm really intrigued to watch on the offensive side.
I have a fun conversation for you.
Okay.
So we were talking about this on a space the other day. And I posed the question there. I'm going to give the same to you. Lincoln Kienholz, it's not that Julian isn't a good athlete or that he can't run somewhat. But Kienholz is a far and above better athlete than he is. He's a bigger guy.
Mm-hmm.
If Lincoln is 75% of the passer that Julian Sayin is, do you think
I'm going to say no. I know what you're going to say. No.
Okay.
Look,
From here.
If Sayin is, quite honestly, Ohio State proved it this past year. Will Howard was he was seldom used in the running game until that final game against Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really use him in designed runs a whole lot. He scrambled. He was able to move around to give himself some time. Sayin can do that. He's just not going to take off and run with it for 30 yards. You know what I mean? So he's got some mobility to him, but if he's like a significantly better passer than Kienholz, there's no reason to start saying.
You think 25%? Well, okay.
That's significant. Yeah, that's a fourth of their ability.
I don't think Julian's half the athlete that Kienholz is.
Ohio State has had successful offenses with guys like that. Look at Dwayne Haskins. He threw for 5,000 yards. They don't necessarily need to have
5,000 because the defense was ass.
Okay, well, why couldn't someone like Sayin do that this year with all the weapons he's got? He's got Jeremiah Smith he's throwing to, Carnell Tate, he's talking about the wide receivers.
I think he could, but I'm also so there's a few other things I'm also bringing, right? Because when you talk about Haskins, right? What Dwayne's 6'3"?
He's a big dude.
Big dude. Julian's not a big guy. He ain't small. Like he ain't Bryce Young small, but he's small. And I don't because
he's not 5'10". He's like 6'1".
No, he's like 6'1". He's like 6'1". What I'm saying is, maybe they go towards what they tried to do with McCord and Brown, and but there's a reason why the offense got better in the red zone because compared to last year, is because we had a quarterback who's actually mobile. And so my thing is, and who could actually run through guys. I'm not sitting here telling you I want Julian Sayin to start. With all the information that we have today, I want Julian Sayin to start. My thing is, man, is if you're telling me that, Will Howard threw 73% last year, and I think it's a lot to ask Julian to even do that. And I think they're actually going to give Julian more complicated throws or harder throws than they gave Will Howard, but and pass the ball more. But if Kienholz can throw 68%, 67%, I would take that because let's not act like when Ryan Day has had the chance to run a quarterback, he will do it. It's not like we let Justin Fields go crazy, run the ball. But the offense, the best offense we've seen is when we had a guy who could do that because it also frees up for the running back. Sure,
but let's not act like Lincoln Kienholz is Justin Fields. So
no, but he's closer to Justin than Julian is as an athlete. I'll tell you, I saw the guy dunk. I saw the guy dunking his bands doing a wing.
Sure, look, he's athletic. I'm not willing to say that he's like going to be ready to run all over teams and run for 800 yards in a season. So I'm looking for who the best leader is, the guy who could best move the offense. I don't, whoever the three is, I do not care. I just want to score points. Whichever quarterback does that the best, that's who I want. Anything else you want to cover before we get out of here?
Yeah, like just to end it here, I had something I wanted to bring to you. I'm sure you already saw, but I want to get your thoughts on this. So Ari Wasserman drops his top coaches, the best coaches in college football, his top 25, and I want to know what you thought about this list.
I saw it. I mean, Ari's an Ohio State guy, so and this is Andy Staples actually.
Oh, sorry, Andy Staples. Oh, what? Where did I must have. No, I'm sorry, Andy Staples, not Ari Wasserman. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was watching.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see any argument as far as the top two is concerned. I don't think I'd have Dabo that high right now. I would put probably Marcus Freeman third, Dan Lanning fifth, and then I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with the with the top two, and then maybe switch. I mean, Dabo's probably down to seventh. I mean, I wouldn't have him in the top five, but the rest of the list is reasonable.
Well, I have some gripes. Kalen DeBoer needs to get knocked down further. There's no reason he should be a top 10 coach right now. I'm sorry. You don't get to do
Washington to a national championship.
That Washington team was one of the probably the best passing game next to C.J. Stroud and that's up there with C.J. Stroud and Mac from Alabama. Mac Jones did. Now, like Joe Burrow's numbers are by itself, but he did. That Washington had a great team. They had the Joe Moore Award-winning team. They beat Oregon twice that season. Like it's not like that was a bad team. Like he was handing a lot of really good players on that team, and he got Michael Penix came with them basically. And then you went 8-4, 9-4
this year
at Bama.
Yeah, he lost 4 games, including the bowl game.
And you got beat by 3 unranked teams, and one of them dog walked you in Oklahoma. I don't believe that should put you ahead of Lane Kiffin. Brian Kelly, I would knock down also.
So I think that personally, I think that DeBoer is fine where he's at just because of, like I said, he took Washington to a national championship. I don't find myself overly disappointed with a lot of these guys on this list. Maybe have Lance Leopold a little bit higher, but I think generally it's okay. I'm not going to like I said, I think Dabo is probably the most egregious inclusion in the top 5. I think that's the biggest thing that I see.
Did you? I should probably find it. I think that's the only thing I have a problem with. I think it was Ari's list that was like insane because he had Dion at 7.
I don't think that there is a big. I don't understand why you don't want to seem to give Mr. DeBoer credit for what he, kind of built a little bit there with Washington. I mean,
he was there for 2 years. If you tell me if any coach, all right, I'll say this.
Previous coach didn't bring him to national title.
You don't build anything in 2 years. I'm sorry, that's not built. If you have the players established there already, you did, and then no. I think Jim Harbaugh built something. I think Nick Saban built something. I think Dabo Swinney built something. I think to an extent, Kirby built something. 2 years.
So
Man,
you
that's
wouldn't
not,
say so you wouldn't say Kirk Cignetti has built something at IU,
no, no,
even though like a third of the roster was transfer guys this year.
nope.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I'll put it this way. I'll make it this simple for you. Just because you do something one time does not mean that's who you are.
Sure.
I don't. It's like if someone said, "Oh, you're because someone
Hell, we've seen
lied."
that with Brian Day in the Michigan game.
Exactly.
He missed the first year, and then
and one of the biggest reasons why I would move Kalen DeBoer down is for the simple fact that I remember the year before, after Ryan Day came off of a 2 years removed coming from a national championship, still hasn't had less than 10 wins in a season. They moved him down to 10. A bunch of riders are on.
I thought that was absurd that they did that, quite frankly. But
I think Kalen DeBoer was at 3, something like that. So when
I understand your point.
Yeah, when a guy goes 9-4, but yeah, I'm sorry because it was actually Ari's I had a problem with because he had Dion at 7. It was I wish I could find it. It was the craziest.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Dion at 7. That's he's a good coach, but I wouldn't go that far.
Like, I wouldn't even say Dion built anything. What you build? Because here's my thing. What did you build it to? What was the end? What's the end goal? And so, if you're telling me next year that Deion Sanders, let's say the first year at Colorado wasn't good at all. It was like you guys had the highest of highs in the first 4 games, and you hit rock bottom. You come out this year, you over than double your wins. Good, that's great progression. But now your son's gone. Now Travis Hunter's gone. You got if next year Deion Sanders wins that conference, because there's a good chance that they have the best talent in that conference. There is a chance of that. So I will judge it based off next year. If he wins the conference, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's gonna just about do it for us. We'll come back to you on Monday. It might not be at 8:00 again. I think I've got another work conflict, so we might have to change the time there again.
Oh, good, man.
But we will be coming live again on Monday. And until then, OH.
IO.